A very good morning to you. How are you doing? Welcome to your world. This beautiful, mindful Monday. The weather looks a bit chilly, but no Monday blues here. We're just here to lighten up your week and your Monday as well. Every single Monday, we talk heavy things. And today is no different because we're talking about money matters and the emotional weight that comes with money. And, money is very emotive. It's something that we want. We crave for it. We are taught from probably a young age to kujiekea ama kushika pesa ni kitu heavy. And, it doesn't just affect our pockets. Money affects our sense of self. It affects our relationships. It affects our emotions. And many people, when they go through something like debt or loss of employment, job loss, or sudden financial shocks, something happens to them. They lose confidence, hauna peace of mind, emotional stress checks in. So money is important. And the other thing about money, sometimes you don't talk about it when you're going through these things. But we have to say that having no money or less money or going through sudden financial shocks will probably put you in a space of anxiety or depression. And this is something that research has shown worldwide. So today we're talking about money and the financial trauma that comes with money. Where does it come from? As we talk about all other kinds of traumas that we have to deal with in life, what about this particular one that comes with finances? And the topic today is very interesting because it's broke and broken. So you don't have money, but you're also emotionally broken because of it. So we're also going to be looking at recovering from the financial trauma of it, healing and going through it and coming through the other end stronger and better, so it doesn't put you down. So this is all that we have lined up for you. I hope you stay with us till the end of the show. But we have a question that we're asking you today. And the question is, what is your financial trauma story? Character development yenye ulichapwa nayo kuhusu pesa ni gani? What happened to you? Please do share with us. Please do share with us. Let us know what it is that you had to go through and you're like, sitawahi jipata hapa tena. And having this conversation with us, we have such an amazing panel. And this is 2 hours, so we'll have other panelists join us in the next hour. But for the first panel, we have, starting from my immediate left, we have Margaret Kimwaki, who is a financial resilience advocate. Welcome. Lovely to have you on the show. And Happy New Year. Last time ilikuwa last year. Yeah. It's still here on the show. Yeah. Lovely to have you. And right next to Margaret, we have Amos Ngahu, who is a financial coach. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you. And next to Amos, we have Robert Wamwea, who's a leadership and business advisor. Karibu sana. Last but not least, we have Grace Karaoke, who's a financial psychologist. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you.
And behind my amazing panel, we have audience. Mkoaje? Mko salama? Mko ready kuongea mambo ya pesa this Monday? Mko na financial trauma story? Hamwezi kosa? Hamwezi kosa hiyo. Okay, I think maybe we could just start with the basic of when you talk about financial trauma, Grace. What is it? What does it look like? We've talked about childhood trauma. We've talked about huku had to break you left, right, center. We've had those conversations every other Tuesday. But when you talk about financial trauma, what does it look like? What is it?
Thank you, Mikali. It's a pleasure to be here. So we would start with defining trauma. What's trauma?
Okay.
And so trauma is an event that happens to you that at the time of the event, it felt so overwhelming, you thought you wouldn't survive it. And so after that, the experience you have is the residue of those emotions, the thoughts that live within your system. So every time you are triggered, you feel those emotions again. And it's what we call reliving the experience as if it's happening again.
Yes.
So you will have bodily sensations, you will have certain intrusive thoughts, and then it can become emotional where your identity is going to be questioned.
Okay.
And so when you think about what we are, the aftermath of the event itself, what you are living with is grief and loss. You are walking through grief and loss. How do you now adjust and continue to advance with this memory and with these emotions and bodily sensations that are triggered whenever you remember it? So everything we go through in life is going to stay in a memory. And that's why when you remember a good memory, you smile by yourself.
Yeah.
When you remember a bad memory, there is something that happens to you. Somebody might just ask you, what has happened? Umeenda wapi? So that is what trauma is. So when we put the word financial in front of trauma, we are just saying you had a really bad experience, or either once or continuously, consistently, that shaped the way you think and the kind of a relationship we'd have with finances. So when you hear the word finance, when you think about money, it triggers you to feel pain. You see, so that is what we call financial trauma. And it could be triggered by many things.
Yeah.
For me, my financial trauma story is growing with hakuna pesa.
Aimei kwa miti.
So I need a pencil
Yes.
in class 2, class 3.
Yes.
And you know, a pencil for a child who is going to school,
Yeah.
it's important.
Yes.
And when there is no money to buy that pencil,
Yes.
the child starts thinking how she is going to be dealt with at school. Either humiliation or not being able to do the work, or it's going to be punishment, utachapwa. So those kinds of experiences throughout your childhood can create a certain persona, your relationship with money.
Absolutely. I love that you sat right there so that you can start the conversation so we understand. Me, I know mine, and I will share it at some point during the show. But now that we know what that is, maybe, Robert, do you have a story, probably something that you experienced? What is that for you that even as you look like experts over here, maybe you passed through it, maybe you are here where you are at in life because of that particular experience that you had?
Okay, so safe space, right?
Safe space. Safe, very safe.
So what happens is when the way she said, you attach yourself to an identity.
Yes.
And then I can say I was soft life-ish, and then you hit rock bottom.
Yes.
Now you understand the guys who don't have what they go through. And that you wake up into your new reality. You question, you mean I cannot have enough money to do something I was doing normally?
Yes.
And that takes you back to ground zero. So that's my trauma story. It was like a year. Life, this is another level of life I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So it really questions who are you without money?
Oof. Did you find you?
Yeah,
Who was that guy without money? Without the soft life?
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. That reset is pretty much.
Okay. Amos, what's yours?
Well, he just mentioned hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
Some of us have hit rock bottom, then you discover rock bottom has a basement. you feel like things had gotten the worst, that you feel like this was the worst scenario.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things, and I agree with him, and I don't know, this could be tilted towards men.
Okay.
You find we allow what we can provide define who we are.
Oof.
So it's called borrowed confidence. So it's borrowed. So the day you lose it, because you allowed it to define who you are, you get lost. And a lot of us lose identity through loss, especially financially. So you realize that by the time you find yourself, there's so many things that you thought were the obstacles, or they were the barriers, or they were the distractions, but only later for you to realize that everything aligns for a purpose.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a story.
That's true.
2019 was that day that I hit rock bottom. So 2020 was the basement of the rock bottom during COVID. And a lot of things were given birth to in my career. And I think that was the biggest turnaround. I was able to audit. I was able to reorganize myself. So I think even as you go through these stories, it's always good to do an audit of what did I learn here?
Yeah.
Because if you don't learn it, you will forever live complaining that, this happened to me. So you have the victim mentality.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for you to recover when you have that mentality.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. Margaret, rock bottom yako ilikuwa na basement. Wamesema hapa resilience ndio kitu uko nayo, advocate.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So being an advocate in resilience in financial institution, I feel like whatever they have said, actually it's just also an eye-opener that almost everyone has had an experience that shaped them And especially as he said, the 2019, I can bet like almost every human being who lived on that particular time, not only in this nation, there was something that was a turning point, and it was so sharp that most people were either depressed, like the identity, like she said, the identity was actually captured. You know, you're disintegrated, you're just someone else, you're not even whom you used to be. Sometimes even finding your name was work. Now, what I can say about the trauma in the financial way, traumas, as said before, you started from childhood. Those small things that you suffer from, but as you grow up, there's that soft life also that is there. And then all of a sudden, there's a shift, a very sharp shift that actually now sends you to a mode of, hey, this is another world, and I must actually not sit there at the trauma bottom where the rock bottom is, and actually find your way. You have to navigate. Huh? Yeah. And just maybe just to a startup, there's an old book that was being called Who Moved My Cheese?
Yes.
Maybe most people, even in a few seconds, you can actually learn something about these four characters actually who are, therefore, one realizes there's a shift, there's something they can sniff, they can tell there's something changing around. He's not able to pick it and say, this is what is happening. Then there's another character who is like, hey, for me, apasikai, I just move very fast and move on. Then there's another one who stays inside, still waiting for the cheese to be either found or recur or come back or anything. But somehow he realizes, even though I stay here, somehow I have to wake up and go. And there's this final character who decides, hey, you know what, this is my comfort zone, no matter what, let me just wait and wait and wait and wait until maybe one day the cheese will come back. And those are the losses that most people have. The first person runs away, the second person decides, apana, I have to adapt, I have to have flexibility, I have to move on, I have to wake up.
Yeah. And I like that you brought up the childhood beat that also Margaret mentioned earlier. And we've shared our stories. 2019, I don't know what year that was, that you went through that. But Margaret, you talked about the pencil. Not Margaret, sorry, Grace. The pencil that you couldn't get. And sometimes we grow with fear of money. Money is evil. Money is for other people, not for us, or something like that. But then if you're growing up with that, how then do you know that there's another way to think? How do you realize or, have an eye opener towards there's a different way to live life? That I shouldn't fear this and should go towards it or look for it or not associate it with negative or bad things.
Yeah. Now, for me, the way that shaped me, it shaped me to think in terms of watu wenye wako na pesa ndio wana savingi, ndio wana investingi, ndio wananunuanga vitu. So the way it shaped me to live within my means. So I became risk averse. I remember a story. I was 22. I had just started working. And so one of my colleagues tells me, situingie sako. Mimi sina pesa. You know how much the sako was? 200 bob. Because I actually had that mentality. Yes. That because we grew up with there is no money. Everybody else around our village who had a stone house, who had ng'ombe na mbuzi, and us we didn't have even a dog. I used to think them they are rich, us we are poor, and this is our thing. So you can develop a certain persona towards money or a certain belief system towards money, and mine was I am poor, and that's it. This is my lot in life. Now, does that mean I didn't work hard? No, I still worked hard. I went to college. Even then, when I was saying I don't have money to enter a SACCO, I was making, that was in the early 90s. I was making 20,000 shillings. Yes. I was taking home 18,000 shillings. Yes. But I told my friend, I don't have money because I had learned to live on the bottom of the human hierarchy of human needs. Yes. I lived on the second floor. Sikuwa naona ninaweza kuenda kwa third na fourth. Yeah. And so what happened, the outcome of that is that I never invested in my first career journey, I never invested in it, and it was 10 years. The funny thing is that, or the sad thing is that I never even opened a bank account until I need 10 years later. That's when I needed to go abroad, and so I had to show a bank statement. And so you can imagine that's the first time I walked into a bank, because in my day they used when it was payday, they would call you to the unaenda kupanga laini pale kwa cashier. They count it, they put you count it, you sign, they put it in an envelope, na unaenda nayo nyumbani. So I was a good money manager. I go home, I put my 18,000 on the table, and I look, my first thing, tithe, and then I would do transport, then food, and then the rest of it would go to my mother for school fees for my siblings. And that is the way I lived my life for those 10 years. Never ever saved anything. So you can see with that story, you can see how, even though it wasn't like a trauma, who would have told me I have trauma? No one.
It's a way of life.
So when I left Kenya and I went to the US at 30 years of age, that's when I realized, you need to have a credit score. And now my financial literacy started there. And I'm still working through it. To the point where now I still catch myself that I will not look at bank accounts. I won't look at monies I'm spending. And that is my growth area, that I have to constantly, every day, use something that shows me these are the numbers you are dealing with every day. Now, when it comes to investing, still a journey. But you see, that trauma has impacted the way I see money, the way I engage with money. So I may not have developed the belief that money is evil or that I have a love of money, but I have that thing of money and me. As long as it gives me survival needs, that's it. That's the far I can go.
Okay. That's a very interesting story, because it is not just your story. I think it cuts across, especially if you are uko firstborn and you have other people to take care of, or probably how you were taught by your mom. Mama alikuwa anasema jieke, make sure uko na twako hapa mahali, and nobody probably taught you how to do those things until you got to 30 and you had to take this journey by yourself. We're going to take a quick break, but the question we're asking you today is, what is your financial trauma story? What does it look like? Have you healed from it? Please do share with us, NTV Kenya, on all of our social media platforms. What is your financial trauma story? And we're going to go through this conversation up until we find, how do we get out of it? How can we manage our monies and finances where we are at right now? More on this after the break. Don't go too far. Welcome back to Mindful Monday on Your World. We're talking about financial trauma, being broken, and the emotional weight that comes with money. We've talked about the childhood and the upbringing and the effects that it has and how it shaped us growing up. We've also mentioned a bit of the things that as an adult you can go through: job loss, things don't go right, COVID happens, life takes you to rock bottom. But then when we are at that point, it's what do we do then? Once we've realized, and Robert, this is for you, once you've realized that I'm down there, and for any other business person out there, I am in rock bottom, what a mindset shift do I need to have at that point to realize I can't stay here? Like Margaret gave us the story about who moved my cheese. I do not stay here. I need to move on. This is not the end of life. That like it can get better. How then do I do that? Okay.
If you're going through hell,
yes,
keep walking. Hell is nowhere to sit down and wait. So there's a little bit of resilience.
Yes.
But we also have to allow ourselves to go through the emotions. As she said, grief and loss. You know, you have to feel the loss. You have to question yourself. Crying and feeling the loss does not stop you from movement. The other thing that is most important, as I had mentioned, is who are you without money?
Okay.
And that's a tricky part. Who are you without money can be an indicator of what value you bring in the world.
Okay.
So in this master reset period, what I did in my story is to ask people, what do you think I can do? Why me? It's very interesting what you hear, because we never ask those questions, because you know, the world is responding to you. It's responding to what you have, how you show up, all the nice stuff. And, you know, my empathy goes to the pressure of social media, you know. So you put yourself out there. Now, your numbers are not looking like they're supposed to. So
Yeah.
who are you? Once you get that feedback, you can build on it, because that's probably the value you have in the market,
Okay.
right? And you can build from there. So the encouragement is resilience and going back to the drawing board. Who are you without the money? And what do you stand for? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's deep. We answer that question of who we are, accompanied by titles and our relationships with other people. But when you remove all of that, even the money and everything else, then who are you? Then that becomes quite a very, it's a personal question. Unajibu peke yako before you find a way to say it to the world. But what are some of the money habits that we have that probably have played a role in finding ourselves in rock bottom, or that we need to probably learn to be able to create a better relationship that we have with money as we grow and heal from our financial traumas? Amos.
You know, most mistakes, financial mistakes, are not made because of error of calculation.
Okay.
They are made because of behavior. And I like what the panel is sharing, because at the end of the day, if you go through trauma, there is shame in it.
Yes.
And shame will always force you into a corner, go silent, and take your brufen. But when you find clarity, when you sit down, sometimes I tell people, it is good sometimes to let it crumble. Let whatever needs to crumble. Those who need to walk out of your life,
They will.
let them walk out, because that is a proper time for you to seek clarity, for you to be able to understand, I can do this, I cannot do this. Case in point, I grew up as a very shy child, sickly, and I could not see clearly. So all up to standard 7, I used to be number last. I could not see even the question well. So I used to guess.
Yeah.
So I used to be number last until my elder siblings left that school, and I was forced to repeat where my kid bro was.
Yeah.
And I remember when I entered that class, I went and sat behind, because these guys were speaking in English. That's a story for different.
What language were you speaking, Amos?
But however,
Yes.
I don't know if that teacher is still alive. When he came in, he asked me, come, do you have a problem with your eyes?
Okay.
I told him, yes. He put me right in front of his, desk. And he would, if he saw us struggling, he would guide me.
Okay.
That was the first time I got an 82 in maths. Because this teacher saw, or I showed my weakness, I was seeking help.
Yes.
So most of us walk around wounded.
Yeah.
You don't even understand some of these things you do. And sometimes traumas, they don't necessarily have to hit you when you're a child. Sometimes they hit you as an adult. Every financial institution is talking about financial inclusivity. Yet there are people who have, men, may God forgive us, you're very wealthy. You've never taken time to show your kids, your wife, what you do for a living.
Yeah.
So by the time you're gone, these people don't even know where to start. You've given them traumas. I have a case in point where a lady could not even understand what a checkbook was. Why? Because she has never been involved in all these things. So we must be able to do an orientation of who we are. Sometimes change may not come, but our behavior can change.
Yeah.
You may not, I may say, like she shared, I may not even trust people in a circle. I don't have money. Because that's a family. There are various houses that we've all grown up with.
Yeah.
Hers was scarcity. Mine was, if the highs are high, they are really high. If the lows are low, they are really low. So by the time you're getting married to someone whose school fees was paid annually. Yeah. Your father used to tell you, go to school. Then he remembers. He remembers when he sees you on the gate coming back. So now you are a bit casual.
Yes.
It's traumatizing because you're used to problems.
Yes.
You get?
Yes.
So we must be able to identify and say, okay, what will fit my what will help me heal? What will suit my journey? Yeah. That's why for me I tell people, right now everybody should be keen in creating their own story. And that is why we don't tell people what to do as coaches. We help people identify and create their own pathway so that now you know what to avoid. If I know I'm a spender, I don't want to be holding to be liquid. Let me do prepayments over the holidays. Let me pay school fees in advance. I don't want to stay with that disposable cash. If you're like her, you can build your own story. Our stories will definitely be different because her strategy is, if she has a discipline, all she needs to deal with is fear. For me, I need to deal with these expenses and fight them. So we must be able to be very intentional and know what traumas am I facing. And most importantly, the source
of that trauma.
The source of the trauma, so that you know how to deal it. Most of us are dealing with black tax. It's traumatizing if you're a firstborn. Alafu anasema asante ya punda ni nini? Ni mateke. When they grow up, they're asking you, who asked you to pay for my fees?
Yeah, I didn't ask you.
And then you find also loss. Everybody has been conned in this Nairobi.
Oh, yeah.
So even when you meet strangers, you're like, I'm coming 1 minute, and you take a turn.
Yeah.
So we must be able to identify what are these sources of traumas, and can we face them, because we fear what we don't know.
That is so true. Yeah. And even as we go through that, there's something that happens, even as you're trying to rebuild trust again, trying to rebuild the business, working through the trauma, there's a fear. There's mistrust that you talked about. And sometimes for me, it's multi-level business, networking, marketing. What is it called? You know, those things.
Pyramids.
Even if you come at me with the best in the world, I will not listen to 2 sentences, I'm done, because I did that at my young age, you know. And you've seen people, they'll tell you, you know, we are driving big cars, we are being taken to Masai Mara for. I can't. It's hard, and people are benefiting from it. But what then, or how can probably the young people who are listening and they've said they have their own trauma stories, which they will share with us, how then do I rebuild that trust so that I do not face everything from a place of fear? I do not do everything from, I'm shortchanging myself. I do not have a proper rate card because am I worth that really? Will I get a job really? And maybe if I just shuka kidogo nitapata, you know, working through that as you try to rebuild yourself and your confidence again. Margaret.
All right, thank you very much. Now, about rebuilding that, what I can say is, let me just touch on a personal story because it's flowing. It's more understandable when you touch on exactly what happened to you and how maybe you're coming out of it. For instance, my early stages was, it was great when it came to finances.
Okay.
There was no strain, everything was okay. Now here I'm a young adult, I go to international organizations, NGOs, you go to international schools. That's why you're actually you're working in those type of institutions. So there is money. And then sudden loss, something happens and you're just there. The trauma comes and then you have to sit down and actually do something about it. I want to mention a particular story about myself whereby at one point now as an adult, that's when the trauma really kicked in. And I had to wake up and actually check on myself and say, no matter what, even though you guys were going to international schools, now we have to actually go back to the drawing board. Changing that was something else. And I'm telling you, sometimes you have to close your eyes to the society. Funga masikio kabisa. Usikubali judgment because you'll be judged. And then at the end of the day, you see people hanging themselves. They're sinking down in depression. So what did I do? From that massive high level of income and all that,
yes,
trust me, I spotted a business that was giving me 10 shillings per sale. Okay?
Yes.
And it was fun because I made it like, you guys, we are going to work with this and this is how we are going to make it, because you look left, right, center, there is nothing working for you. The friends disappear, your identity has changed, the rebranding of your name. Unaitwa majina zingine. In this nation, we have someone who is called Sonko. I don't know whether it's his name or rather it's a status of his name. Yes. Trust me, even on the other side, kuna kajina hapo. So don't think in that. Sikia hapa inatokea huko. So I started my small business, which was giving me actually just 10 bob per sale. And what was this? I was getting some ice, walikuwa naita ice cream, but actually it's just a nice form. It was actually sold for 10 shillings.
Okay.
I would get it with 3 shillings and resell it at 7 shillings. So this is a 70% profit income that I'm getting, okay? And then it was just at that moment of COVID. Who is here to promote me? The young kids. From class 1 kule chini nursery, those were my customers.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, at the end of the day, no matter how small it was, I started selling 100 stones, each 10 shillings. By the time wiki ilikuwa inaisha, nilikuwa nauza kama 600 stones. From watoto.
Yeah.
Mimi si kupata biashara kutoka kwa watu wazima. And that was a mind shift for me. I was just like, hey, okay, now where people are not looking, this is where I look, because for a whole year, how watoto walikuwa wamekaa bila kwenda shule. So early in the morning, they need the ICs. Jioni, afternoon, they would actually come. And that was a parting for me. And it was a parting shot because I was just like, now this one, I'll always be looking at where the crises are. So the young person who is out there thinking, okay, now I'm here, nimesoma ma degrees iko hapa sijui nini, I've gone where to go. I have actually invested myself so much in education and all that. There is always something to do, okay? Spot the crisis, because if you really want to thrive, for me, what I've seen, check on where the crises are. Those problems that you're able to solve, the human needs, they never end. Huenda tu hata ni kibanda tu, utadrive kutoka hapo. Huenda tu ni kitu kidogo, you know those things that we really check on and you're like, hii ni makaa business, makaa tu chako hapana. But this guy, per day, and sell like 10 bags of that. So the young person who is out there and you're wondering what, let something small be your stepping stone. Every day you start small and then you grow. Because where I started is it's not where I am right now. And I'm happy because I didn't fear. I didn't look at the society. I didn't look at my papers. I didn't look at where I was coming from. And I'm still standing.
And you did not lose your confidence.
No.
In whatever state you were in at that point, you did not succumb and be like, acha nikae hapa sasa, nothing is happening and we're not moving. And I want to just talk to the gentlemen first because I know they are about to leave us. But I am happy that we're having this conversation at the beginning of the year. This is where we have... we've set our goals. We are looking at building and getting better and getting right with our money. And we have all these goals that we've set for ourselves. But what are some of the highlights that you would give, Robert, for someone who is trying to rebuild their life right now, all over again? Yesterday was their rock bottom and they're like, today I'm going to change it. They're probably feeling a bit overwhelmed. What are some of the practical things that they can do now to just make that shift?
Okay, numbers don't lie.
Okay.
And that's where we start. The biggest issue is that we never look at money. It's a phenomena. It's like a cloud.
Yeah.
You can't say that's how much I cost. And that's what I ask a lot of my clients and businesses. How much do you cost to know where you need to start? Do you cost 20K? Do you cost 100? Do you cost 1.5? Whether you're earning 1.5 or 10 million, you how much do you cost?
Yes.
Because basic needs, as she said, we have to cover that first.
Yes.
Food, shelter, clothing. And you know that varies. So you have to get as practical as possible. How much do you cost and how much do you need? Because now we can define a problem. We know that this problem is 20 kilos.
Yeah.
How do we achieve that? So that's where we start. Number 2, mindset. And this is just more of an encouragement.
Okay.
Your biggest shouter and hater is probably yourself. Imagine people have their own problems. People are not just watching you.
Yes. They don't care that much.
Wow, it's just you. Oh my goodness. People have their
problems.
So you're just a passing cloud for them.
Yeah.
So if you have that soberness of they really don't care that much and it doesn't really matter, we say those who matter don't care and those who care don't matter. So you have to know who's in your corner, and the ones who care about you will give you advice or help.
Yeah.
Right? So you start with the practicality of it. Yeah, because you know when you're in trouble, keeping up with the Joneses won't matter. Trying to pretend won't matter. And I really want to put this encouragement across the board because of what's happening in our society. This is not just a young person thing.
No.
This is people with big cars, big companies.
Yeah.
You just have to reset. We don't care. And we all know, if we look at our American counterparts, we like an underdog story. Alianguka. Now they've come a second time. As he said, how do you write your comeback story? So my encouragement is check the numbers. Don't give up. Get very practical. A lot of the things you can sell, as she said, is around you.
That's true.
And finally, let's stop that. I don't know if this generation is the right one. Remember that quail egg, whatever's hot. Yes. Right?
Yes.
Don't run to whatever's hot. Run with whatever can convert. Oof. She would have started with quail eggs, but she did ice.
Yeah.
So what's the practicality of what you can bring in? Number 2, and finally, what's the difference between an income generating activity versus a business? Do not take your 2 savings to start a business. Try income generating activity where you can use a skill, a connection, an opportunity to convert and put food on the table and then think about it. That's my practical advice.
Thank you so much. It does work. It does work. Most of the times, it's the things that are around us. And sometimes we think we are too up here to do those things. So we should change our own selves. And before I let you go and probably open up for the floor to ask maybe just 2 questions before they go. But Amos, it's January. Money Gossip is doing a thing, and huko ndo tunafaa kuanzia hii January tukijaribu audit our own selves to just find out. Maybe you could just tell us about that a little bit and what's happening and how we can plug into that.
Yes, we've always had a program. It's called Money Gossip. We don't like shouting about money because it's a very private thing. So it's an open day where guys will show up. And one of the things we want to do is we want to prove to people that they are not idiots. Okay. All they need to do is a redirection of their finances. So we want to help them do personal audit happening on 31st. If you go on our social media page, Instagram, Money Clinic KE, you'll find the details there. Just sign up. And it's a very important thing. And would you allow me to just pick up on what he said? Because he said something that is very pertinent in this conversation.
Yes.
We need to be very careful that I actually call it a sound mind. You know, even those who are Christians, God has not given us the spirit of fear. Yes. He's given us the spirit of power, of love, and sound mind. I feel like all of us, if we had our own sound mind to be able to know, because nobody really cares. In fact, do an experiment. This is for men. Just let your fly open and walk from Nation Center all the way to railways. Yes. Tell me how many people will notice. People are busy carrying their own lives.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that even if you feel like it's over your head, you need to be careful that it is not a saboteur of your success. So be aware of these traumas so that they are not sabotaging you. And finally, there's something that I have learned over time, that everything that happens to you, if you miss it, it has a habit of repeating itself.
Okay.
Whether in childhood or in advance. So one of the things I tell people is that prepare. Who are you before the money comes?
Okay.
Are you ready for the loss? Are you ready for the gain? Are we together? Yes. Because if you're ready for the loss, you know how to position yourself. If you need to scale down, I like that saying. I keep saying it. People who care don't matter, and people who matter don't care. Because one time we were scaling down, and I was so afraid of what I'd tell my son. And I told him, we are moving to a smaller house, and it's only temporary. Do you know what he told me? It's small. That means we'll be close to each other.
Oh.
And that's the day I realized. Yet outside, I have scaled out to a smaller car. Guys who used to see me with a big car were like, hey, Amu Mesota. Yet the guy does not have a driving license.
Yeah.
So we must be able to know who we really are. If you have to scale, don't even think twice. Scale down.
Okay.
So that now you are not, everything happening around you is not a distraction.
Oof.
Yeah.
Is it a full day event?
It's a half day. It's from 8:30 to around midday on 31st of this Saturday.
Of this month.
Yeah,
January ni mwezi mzuri.
Yes.
Tuko na space ya only one question. Yes.
Hello. My question goes to the panel.
Yes.
What really happens to survival when what happens to dignity when it requires survival and negotiation?
Okay. Who is going to answer that?
Let me answer. That's a very good question. Just look around Nairobi. When people are rushing, look at even Boda guys. He knows you're turning this way, but he'll come and overtake on this side.
Yeah.
Look at the purchases we are doing. Because you're desperate, you choose to buy something. You don't know if it's hygienic. So when you're in survival mode, you need to be careful that you're not taking up and compromising on everything.
Okay.
And this is why knowing yourself, like he said, is very, very important for you to know. Sometimes it's even good to pack up and even travel back to Shags instead of compromising on your values. And even in business, I keep telling young people, if you ever find me somewhere, don't tell me, promote my business. If anything, you're giving me an opportunity to demote it because I don't know the amount of work and research you've put in it.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Come to me and tell me I have a solution for 1, 2, 3 of your problems.
Yeah.
I have a solution. Now that way you start speaking from a confidence level. You start speaking from a problem solver. I normally say, again, this is controversial. Also, don't leave money behind.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
Don't leave money behind. It's an art of negotiation, which is a very underrated skill nowadays. So if you're on survival mode, you also need to be aware, am I on survival mode at this time? Okay. So what can I compromise and what can I not compromise? Okay? So I tell my assistants sometimes, even as we do this education and group things, I like sitting down before I give you our rate card. I like sitting down with you. I want to know your budget. If it meets, or if it's, if I'll go at a loss, then I tell you, build up, then we can do it later. So it's very important for you to be able to know at what point I've been on survival mode for this long. And this probably I've been running away from poverty for the longest time. So you need to slowly start moving to a strategic mode, which is the opposite of survival, so that you know you've stopped running. Have you ever been chased by a dog? Okay, that's the time you realize speed is more important than direction.
Yes.
But when you're thinking about business and strategy, you begin to understand that direction is much more important than speed. That's the difference between being strategic and being on survival mode.
Wow. We have room for one more question. Nasket. Yes, you can chime in.
There is something that, a practical thing that we can do now, what the two gentlemen have said. Learn to sit and write. Anything you don't write down, it just comes into your head and it becomes rumination.
Yes.
So learn to sit down
Yes.
and write.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? What are your questions? And when you write the questions, because usually on survival mode, you are in grief.
Yes.
So you are not logically thinking. The questions have no where, they are just questions.
Yeah.
Try to answer them. Why me? Try to answer that. So writing becomes, get yourself a notepad, and every time you find yourself in survival, which is the fight, flight, you are just feeling not okay, write it down. Because your wisdom is there. Even when you come and talk to me, a coach, or they will not give you anything you don't know. They will just help you process, explore and process. And so that's what you want to do for yourself. You can create that, because at night, you can't call your therapist and you can't call your coach.
Okay.
But you can sit up, instead of playing those things in the head, go sit down at the desk and write.
Tumepata jibu. Happiness. Great. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Don't go too far. Remember, the question that we're asking you today is, what is your financial trauma story? And I'm glad that our panelists shared theirs today. So unajua, they are not coming from a place of up here. They know what it feels like to be down here, right? But they've managed to pick themselves up. So they're speaking from experience and life lessons zenye zilifanya hivi kidogo. So what's yours? What's your financial trauma story? We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Mindful Money Monday. On Your World, we're talking about money and the emotional weight that it carries. And there's a beautiful conversation that we are having here today. And we focused on how we were brought up, what are the things that we were taught, and even as an adult, what it is that we go through and what that does to us. Because there's something about financial pain that the body does not forget. Even when the situation changes, there's a reaction that happens to you when you're faced by that situation again, or the fear of not wanting to go back there. But does that fear put you down, or does it propel you to do better, or to learn from the mistakes that you did, if at all you did, and to just generally just do better? But I have a question about I don't know if you know this kind of people, the people who hustle. They are on the grind 24/7 with 55 other businesses. He haikuwaka move kwa ingine, constantly hustling. Is that a trauma response? Margaret, is it? Ama tu ni mtu amejitolea tu yendi anatafutanga tu. And when you look at probably progress ya maisha versus the amount of time put in is quite haziendani.
Okay, what I can say, it's some sort of an emergency response to the brain. It is already too tortured. And then at this point, a rolling stone gathers no moss. You're here, you're there before you gather knowledge. Here, umechanganyikiwa before you are here. You are learning about coffee, you're learning about, I don't know, the new system, the new phone that's come. You're totally distorted and disoriented. So what happens to you is actually you end up getting tired. And the nervous system will respond with, nimewezwa. Because most people, you cannot run more than 1, 2, 3, 4 times, all of them falling and falling. Even the scholars of time, even the people, let's say, just like electricity, he failed more than almost 999 times. But the 1,000th time, he made it. Trying the same thing. This is now called the resilience. wacheni kurukaruka. Sometimes, okay, you can just say, like now, for instance, you want to go to sell blankets huko coast, okay? Because actually that one will not work for you. Try and find out, like I mentioned before, try and find out something that is working for within you. Don't go very far. Don't be too scattered, because almost kiganda yoyote iko Kenya, we need something. We are always in need of something. Spot one thing, work on it. Or if it's too resistant and you cannot actually now mold it further or make it go further, okay, make a decision that actually will, the second option that I'm going for actually will work for me better. Skills, learn the skills, and the resilience is actually working with a lot of wisdom in anything that you catch. Don't do 1,000 businesses. You're
At the
going to
same time.
crash down. You're
Okay.
going to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then wanasemanga if you want to sijui be a billionaire, sijui seven streams, 7 streams of income. Does it mean 7 different businesses? Or how are we looking at this 7? Or do we have a number?
Okay. Well, you cannot maybe just dwell on one thing, okay? You need
Yes.
a side. That's what we call, identify one major thing that maybe stands strong. But okay, again, within 7 streams of income, that is very safe.
Aha.
Okay, that is quite safe because I can do an online business. I can actually be good in just maybe baking or just something, you know, the talent.
Yes.
Because most of us, why we fail in life, we go for scripted things, not even within you, not even your interest. Ni kitu tu, you feel like, hey, these people are making this kind of money, so let me just imitate them. Now, what happens? You go there, you try. Let me tell you something. Illusions are there.
Yes.
And for instance, that's just within the CBD, I checked on something. You see a guy, anauza maji na biscuit pale, but the rent there ni kitu kama 200k, and you know what, the next thing there is a goodwill. Trust me, enda jaribu weke maji pale na hiyo goodwill yako, you're going to sell all your fortunes, all your investment, and you go down.
Yes.
There are hidden codes of people, what people are doing, and especially with finances. Pesa vile walisema haitaki kelele sana, so maybe I could be doing something that is generating a lot of income, na sitaki kuongea, sitaki competition, because again, we're in a nation whereby nikijua unafanya nini, the next thing I'm like, lazima niangushe yule ndio nipande juu. Okay, so being in the nation that we are in today, we are not really together when it comes to finances and all that. Be safe. Identify your talent, because within our talents, for sure 100%, our talents are holding our wealth. Most of us tunafanya vitu lakini haziko kwa roho. Within the talent, identify something. Then within the just a proximity of what is happening, try 7 more streams, although it could be much, but at least have 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else wants to chime into that? Yes, please.
I'd love to chime into that. So the first part, I'd love to respond to that, and this goes for those who are trying the hustle culture. Can we put effort and efficiency in the same equation?
Ooh. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
How do you know you are failing?
Mm.
First of all, what was the initial goal? So that was the problem. So walk with me. If I have a number, 100K, right? Let me say 100K, and I have 5 ideas, and I'm going to do all 5. Basic math, we are saying each will give me how much? 5 divided by 100 is 20, right?
Yes.
So if I'm pushing and one is giving me 2K and another one is giving me 25 or 30, clearly over a period of time I start saying, oh, this one might not be working very well. So we have a habit of putting goals that have wishful thinking. They have no a substance. How do I know I'm getting to Nakuru? I'm going to Nakuru.
Okay.
You know, then you wake up from a long trip, you go, Niko happy. If you put that in your mind and you set out for that goal and you make it clear, even financially, it helps.
Yeah.
And then work with the end in mind. If you want that 100, how do you work backwards? And this I'd like to really encourage the young people. You have the energy. You have the energy. Just put a little more structure. You have the energy and the time. As you grow older, that's what you miss out. You don't have so much time and not so much energy. So if I say, it's not good vibes and inshallah all the time. Can I work backwards in 6 months and say, this week, what are the things I need to do this week to get me to 100K?
Okay.
And once you start falling in love with following numbers, it's not mathematics. It's like a compass. You'll find that that really helps. It's more important than even the hustle. It's seeing, is my effort effective? You've ever heard of the 20-80 principle?
Yeah.
In any business person, they tell you, these are 20% of your customers that give you 80% of all your money.
Yes.
That's where you should focus on.
Okay.
That's my response to her
To that question.
of being a hustler at 100 things.
Okay.
You can start at 100, end up at 5.
Mm.
And I love it, if I may. And I had a feeling you'd take that direction. There's an issue of people confusing turnover with profitability. You're very busy, but you're not productive. So I love. Have you ever seen people who are very diligent in opening their businesses?
Yes.
6.
Yes.
I'm always in town. Me by 7. By 7, you'll always find me in town. So we need to get to a place whereby again, the issue of auditing. You need to sit down and ask yourself, okay, I'm doing all these things. Even those in business, and especially those in business, do you know you can diversify within your field? Okay?
Yes.
Those of us who are above 35, we know that annoying video. Are you above 35 and you are still learning AI? Let me tell you something. I've been doing my business. I'm doing 18 years now in financial coaching. Okay. It's until 4 years ago, I sat with a Gen Z and they told me, those small clickbaits, can you put them on TikTok? As like me, TikTok, my age. And they did it.
Yes.
Right now, most of our businesses is gotten from our social media, all because we diversified from within the business. So you must be able to ask yourself, yes, I've been selling, because one of the biggest things I worry about, my biggest fears, I'll say it today on live television.
Please do tell.
Is finding me the same place you found me yesterday. You know, I really pity. 20 years ago, there was a shoe cobbler where we used to live somewhere in Thika. And many years later, he's still there. No development, nothing.
Yeah.
Because he's never I don't know what is the problem. So we must be able to say also, yes, don't do 1,000. Don't try so many things that you don't have capacity. But within your field, what are the many things I can be able to do? Diversify in a nice way. Because when an egg is broken, it's either external force or internal. If it's broken from outside, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
But if it's broken from the inside, it's beginning of life. So most of us need to ask ourselves, away from my job, away from my business, what can I be able to do that can make me 500 bob today?
Yeah.
And that's when now you start looking at your abilities, ability to speak, ability to organize, ability to network, and then you can build it from there.
Absolutely. I love the conversation and how it's just gone. We were talking about the hustling, because the next thing would be we've seen people who are probably overspenders. There are people who are hoarders. They just hold on to stuff. There's atujui kesho kutaenda aje. Let me just gather and gather and gather and gather. And I don't know what that speaks to them, because probably I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So let me just have, and we saw this during COVID, where we were buying tissue ni kama, yani, kwani tulikuwa tunanunua tissue? Where were we fighting over tissues in supermarkets? I don't.
It's survival mode.
Survival mode, you know? And we were just holding and keeping stuff in the house.
We were dealing with trauma.
Yes, absolutely. And the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have tissue, the world will, we will die.
You will die.
And as you are talking, I'm
Yes.
thinking about my mother. My mother is 86. And so she is baby boomer, those people who are back then. I am a Gen Xer myself. And so my mother, today when I go to her house, she got married in 1968.
Yes.
That's when she had her wedding.
Yes.
We still have utensils from then that she was given during her wedding
day.
And my mother will see you go to pick one of those pieces of utensils.
Yes.
And she will say, no, rudisha hiyo, chukua zile.
Yes.
And I am thinking to myself, who is being waited for to use those?
Yes.
So she has a jug. Unajua zile jug za kitambo.
Yes.
I told her, I'm going to inherit this when you are no longer here. Me, I've already asked for that one.
Yes.
Because, so when you talk about some of the ways we do life, they are being motivated emotionally by unresolved trauma. So yes, when I have these businesses, 100 of them, and I am constantly on the go, I'm on overdrive, I'm an overachiever, and I need, before I get to be 40, and now I am confused about where I'm going and where I have been, I need to do a personal development process.
Okay.
Jielewe, I have a program I do with individuals, and it is 12 sessions. It's called Brief Solution Focused Therapy. So I call it self-awareness,
Yes.
clarity, and insight.
Okay.
So that now you can come. We are not going to try to fix any problem. We are just going to try and say, who is Grace? Where did she come from? What did she experience? What happened? And before we do session 4, somebody is actually getting so much insight. Because what happens when we live on crises that are never emotionally resolved,
Yes.
is that every time you talked about the nervous system.
Yes.
Every time our autonomic nervous system is triggered by information from the world, we automatically go into fight, flight, freeze mode, which is the jungle life. It is me against the world. Everybody around me is an enemy.
Yes.
I have to do what? To protect myself. And so when we do that, we repeat unconscious behaviors. Well, we repeat unconscious stories in our mind that become behaviors. And so we say, I am stuck in this thing. The only way you can be able to get away from that cycle of being stuck in life, whatever the situation is for you to do a self-awareness process. Now, kila mtu anajijua.
Yes.
Tunasemanga hivi, mimi nakuaga, na mimi sipendangi. So what? That's the question that therapy usually answers.
Yes.
So what? So that you can learn self-regulation. You can learn how to bring your nervous system back to recovery and reconnection.
Okay.
And you are not staying in this survival mode is where you are not connected with anything. All you are doing is looking at how you are going to survive. But when you are in recovery and you are in that space of balance or that space of awareness, and you have to self-regulate. That's why we were talking about think about structures, think about efficiency, think about those things, so that now you're not just running with the wind.
Yes.
And usually there is a term we use for people who struggle a lot with the instability with the nervous system. We call it riding the wave. It's sitting with instead of fixing.
Yes.
And just allowing yourself that actually sitting with something and feeling it so that you can figure out what the action should be so that you don't go back to what you are running away from.
Yeah.
That is actually strategy.
Yeah.
It is riding the wave. So that now when you look at the surfer, he doesn't run away from the waves. He takes advantage of the wave. And the wave takes him where he is going. I like Ron Kenoli's song that you said, you know, when you catch hell, don't hold it. When you are going through hell, don't stop.
Yeah.
And when you have lived a long time like myself, there are so many times you have had to remember that. And you say to yourself, I'm going to hold on to this until I get to the other side. Because I can't stop. If I stop, I'm overwhelmed. I won't be able to make it. So even with finances, please try to know your financial language and your financial story and your financial, whatever we call them, hang-ups, blocks.
Yes.
And allow yourself to do that. Then you will be able to navigate life in a way of progressing. So mimi nakuanga tu hivyo. We are adaptable human beings. We are going to adapt. You cannot, if you can predict how you will act when COVID happens again, and your prediction is the same that it was in 2020, you are not growing.
Absolutely. And Amos, you had a question during the break that you were asking a very able psychologist. Do you want to do it on air?
Yeah. It's a big question. I've seen a lot of difference the way men and women handle trauma. If I'm hosting a man, I know by the time a man sits in my office, which is very rare, everything has hit the fan. But for women, I'm more proactive. But I'm curious to know when you experience what different age groups, different generations handle trauma.
Now, what I have seen, people who are like my mother's age, trauma is part of life. And how did they overcome it? They overcame it through spiritual tools. So everything is about it's God's grace. So when I ask Mom, how did you get through
Ni Mungu.
And she says, we ni Mungu tu. And then I will go and say, Mom, but what did you actually do?
Yes.
And then now I can get some wisdom from that, practicalities of that. But now that generation, their resilience is strong because they actually relied on a higher power more than anything else, than self-effort and all that. So then you have us who are the children who are raised by them. So by the time I came in, now I have two things. There is the spirituality, because I have been born to know that you pray about things and you talk to God and He has a plan. But then there is also the fact that I am learning that I have a brain that can make decisions.
Yes.
And so in my time, when I was in my 20s, which was in the 90s, we used to ask, what is the will of God?
Okay.
So I'm seeking now God to tell me what I should do. Does God have only one person in the world for me to marry? What if I miss them? You see? So we started to move to now looking at spirituality, but adding now what we are calling, that logical part.
Yes.
A lot of times people didn't want to believe that faith and logic can go together.
Yes.
And so now we have that. So in my generation, the Gen Xers, we can be resilient and continue on by pushing down the trauma, and we will deny that we have been traumatized by our parents because it sounds like we are being disloyal.
That's true.
Then came the millennials.
Yes.
And the millennials, they moved a little bit. They are moving away from from societal, this is what you should be. So they want it, but they want it on their own terms. You see, and they will. So now we have the 50-50. If it is, I'm a marriage counselor, so 50-50.
Yes.
And they are going like, so 50-50 means what? What does that mean?
Yes.
And so we are having a problem where now young men who are traumatized because of their moms, how mom was.
Yes.
They are coming and they don't realize that they are coming into a marriage expecting their girlfriends and their wives, who are millennials, to be like their mother.
Okay.
Because there is a loss of nurture.
Okay.
Because now the millennials were raised by, some of us, because we were busy. You see, my mother was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah. No, you are working. You're not
Me,
present.
I'm working.
Yes.
My husband is working.
Yes.
And we are raising children using the house girl and other workers. So we are not connecting with them. We have given them everything they need. They are not on survival mode. Their survival mode is level 3.
Okay.
Love, attention, and connection and belonging, because they don't feel they belong. They belong. Then the millennials are raising the Gen Zs, who they do not, everything is relative.
Yes.
You see? And then the millennials are the ones who are taking their children to very expensive schools because that is what the group they are in expect. So that now the identity has to do with the group, you see. But they believe they are individuals. So they are, the way they live and the way they believe, they are not. Because now how can I take my child from school X, and that is where all my friends, we all take our children. So there is a lot of disconnect between our value system and what we want people to see. So, and that is an old thing. It's not new. And then now with our Gen Zs, they want what they want, when they want, and they don't have now the waiting power, the patience, the endurance. Us, we tell them how we endured, because we learned that for you to get anything, you have to endure. Now, what are we telling them? And we, their parents and grandparents, you want, they get.
Yeah.
Do you know how long it took me to have a phone? I was in my 30s. You see?
Yeah.
But now my child, who was 12, then mine is asking me for a phone.
For a phone. And things have changed, really, they have.
And I
ndio hao
would-
wamekaa hapa nyuma yetu.
And I would
Na-
say, what do you need a phone for?
And they will give you an answer. They will definitely give you an answer.
So there is
yes.
a lot of...
So let's just hold a bit. We're trying to fix your mic. There's something that's just happened to it, so we'll have that fixed. But I see we only have about 2 minutes. So Amos and Robert get a minute to say their kwaheris. And I don't know if we take that opportunity to just have them answer a question as their goodbyes. Is that okay? So we can start quickly in 10 seconds. You have a question? Yes.
Good morning. My name is Steve. Well, my only concern or my question would be, we've talked so much about the black tax and all that, but another thing we have to remember is she's brought up the spiritual aspect of all these things, and now we are having parents bring up this whole concept of spirituality in the name of usiponisaidia Mungu atafanya. Unajua Mungu and there are people who are really struggling. They are not even earning like 10,000 or something, and they have their siblings to take care of. They have bills at home. Mama ako pale amechukua sijui loan wapi, baba sijui amelewa. It's just crazy. So
how do we handle that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that would be the one question that Robert and Amos answer as they say their goodbyes. We have less than a minute
Well,
now.
Yeah, first of all, I think all the solutions are around. If we can be able to understand, and I've noticed something with the Gen Zs, they're very good at collaboration.
Yes.
I've come to understand if you're thinking possession, then it brings the aspect of competition. But when it's about purpose, purpose does not compete. So I would suggest that we subscribe to various platforms like what you have right here. It's helping a lot of people. I am at a sector whereby we may look like we are competition, but we are collaborators. So if you can be able to find her, she can give you counseling on how to set boundaries when it comes to black tax, because I believe all of us, we can pick something from each and every one of us. Let's not be afraid of collaboration. And finally, it runs down to contentment.
Okay.
Do you have that sound mind to make a decision that you can live with tomorrow?
Okay.
So in a scenario like this, just step out of your life. Think about you advising your younger self 5 years ago. That perspective normally changes.
Okay. Thank you, Amos. Robert, like 30
30
seconds.
seconds. Let me make it quick. Young people, black tax is very, very serious. And you'll come back full circle and you'll be asked, who asked you?
Oof.
So if you're going to do it from intention, not reaction.
Okay.
Is it part of your personal value? Can you afford it? Because if you are destroyed by black tax, then it ends. You cannot support or provide after that.
Yeah.
So you first fill that cup, then pour into what you're looking into. So we don't feel ourselves often. So please feel yourself. You can't work with a negative. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much. I love it so much. Thank you so much, guys. And you kept time. Amos, asante kwa kuja. Robert, thank you so much. We'll still have Margaret and Grace with us. And we have 2 more gentlemen joining us. But don't go too far. This conversation continues. We've got a bit more time for your world this Monday. So stick around. Lazima tupate suluhisho. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Your World. The conversation continues on this Mindful Monday. We're talking about your financial trauma, getting through it, recovering from it, healing, and getting better. As we start off this year, we want you to have a better money financial experience. And we've talked about many, many things. And Amos has left, and Robert as well. But joining us with the panel alongside Grace and Margaret, we have Lewis Murimi, who's an AI enthusiast and businessman. Karibu sana Murimi. Lovely to have you on the show. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you for
So tujue leo AI inatusaidia aje? How can we get better at this thing that probably we've been doing, especially in businesses? And right next to Lewis Murimi, we have Joseph Odindo, who is a business coach. Lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
The question that we've been asking since 10 a.m. is, what is your financial trauma story? What is it? What does it look like? What is your financial trauma story? Please do share with us, NTV Kenya, on all of our social media platforms. I'll be taking some time to look at that on Facebook and on our WhatsApp as well. But I'd like to start with the gentlemen that have just joined us. What would be your financial trauma story? What happened? Where did the shift happen? And how did you probably pull yourself from that situation? We can start with you, Odinga.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's quite deep, especially for a young man,
Yes.
to have gone through trauma, and I'd say multiple traumas.
Yes.
Because I'm also a serial entrepreneur.
Mm.
I love starting businesses and building businesses. And my first trauma, I remember, I tried doing biashara hapa Marikiti, bringing canters of potatoes from Narok, Meru, to the market.
Yes.
But the market has what we call cartel, the
Yes.
owners of the market.
Yes.
And so at some point, we left one of the owners of the market with our canters, I think around 60 bags.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that's the last we saw of that. And
And that business ended like that?
Yep. Like we lost almost 250K. And I think I was in campus at that point. I was in second year, and my parents didn't even know I was in business.
Yes.
Yeah? So you're trying to go back to school and you're fighting that.
Yeah.
Then much later, I decided to go into just get formal employment and work. Then, 10 good years of being a chief operations officer. I did well. We were doing solar. It was a social enterprise. Then that stops, but I have some muscle. So I, again, go into business. I enter construction.
Yes.
And I see the profits that are there. I get a deal of about 28 million shillings, and I'm sure I can make around 11 million from it.
Yes.
And I jump in for the profits. And,
11 million, did you get it?
I actually ended up giving them 11 million and still looking for, and so it was not only one project. So several projects that we had to run. And I have seen people actually lose their lives actually in this particular industry.
Yes.
And for me, that's where the shift happened. I was like, whoa, it's crazy. I lost like 3 close friends, one cousin in the midst of all that because of pressure that just comes from this.
Okay.
So for me, it's something that, it's close to my heart. And that's where the shift happened. I'm still in business.
Yes.
Actually been burnt kidogo tena like some 2 weeks ago, but I can deal with it much better.
Okay.
And so I feel going through it and coming out successful gives some courage, but still it doesn't assure you that
you will not be burnt again.
Uko mbele.
Margaret, this is what you were talking about earlier. That not sitting down. It's just like, yes, so this has happened. I am here. I'm in the pits, but I need to pull self up again and try one more time. It's a beautiful story. I know it has trauma, umesema trauma mingi for a young man. It's a beautiful story because it's one of resilience.
Yes.
And it's what we've been talking about earlier. Levis,
Yeah.
financial trauma story. What does yours look like?
Okay. For me, this dates back when I was in campus.
Yes.
I'm a graduate of engineering course. One of the good universities within the city. So back in the days, I remember the days we used to get help, and that help used to run so many things, including sometimes supporting our families, extended families. So back then, I had engaged in a business to get poles, electric poles from, I come from slopes of Mount Kenya. So we'll get some poles, we take them, we supply them to some institutions which were processing the poles and converting them to electric poles. So I would be in class sometime, I check the schedule, the timetable, sometimes jump out, using the help, buy a few poles from farmers, then wait for the truck to fill and take it to these factories. So one day, I remember very clearly, we had supplied around, I think, 3 trucks, which was it was quite some time back. It was around 2 million. It was not a lot of money, but for me, it was a lot of money for me as a student because
Yes.
now, as in, I'd even borrowed some of my colleagues that money, and that money ended up not getting paid.
Yes.
They said we supplied some of the trees were substandard quality and all that. And remember, I had to pay these farmers. I had to look for money to pay these farmers, and then to wait for all that long. So since then, I remember I went to some level of depression. I had to involve our dean of students, at least to help me get into terms in losing all that money.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a long time ago. So now the kind of traumas I'm dealing with, or I've been dealing with, has been in business. I run a company at the moment, which mainly deals with air conditioning and mechanical ventilation stuff. And one of the challenges I've been facing, like most of the business people, is that whenever you're looking for business from these big corporates, they negotiate hard.
Yes.
Believe you me. Some of them, they have a whole department for negotiation. You get the point. So, and they're able to check each and every price against each other contractor.
Yes.
So if you're there looking for business and you're not really understand the nitty-gritties of your costing,
Yes.
you might end up getting the big deals, but eventually you may not be making money.
Okay.
You'll be losing money at the end of the day. Your company will be bleeding.
Yeah.
So I've been having that challenge until I managed to now say that enough is enough. I take some steps about it, which you'll be sharing. And now I can say I've started seeing some small steps towards healing, towards moving from survival mode,
Yes.
and getting up there.
Oh, I'm going to step with my coffee, baby. The vulnerability this morning is something to envy, because growing up, money is not a conversation that we talk openly. How much you earn, how much you've lost, if you're in depression, if you, like whatever it is that it's surrounding money, there's a bit of shame that comes with it. And probably this is for you, Margaret, when we talk about asking for help, reaching out, I am in debt, I am I don't have money for food, or I am depending on other people to help me to survive with me and my family. Why is there so much shame around that? And how can we ask for help without necessarily being nagging or being shamed for it? It's the prerogative of the other person if they're going to shame you or not. But how do we overcome that to be able to just step out and say, mimi niliitisha msaada mkakataa basi, but I tried?
Well, let me start by saying that a poor man, let me just put it in quotes, a poor man's greetings, they sound like they're already begging for help, okay? Yes, so with that, as a jumpstart of what I'm about to say,
yes,
we talked earlier about you have to change your identity, agree to change that identity, and you have some shock absorbers about the social community, what they're going to say about you, because anyway, they will talk. Whether you like it or not, they will talk. Juzi alikuwa anaturingia, sasa muangalie. You know, those kind of talks. So sometimes the resilience that we are talking about here is, you have to actually take it, whether good or bad. Let me now just be me, and actually mtanitusi, mtanichukia, but anyway, now here I am, I need help.
Yeah.
For instance, I didn't walk my journey alone.
Okay.
And after I moved from a certain school, it's an international school,
yes,
I teamed up with Grace. There, things were good. Now here, Margaret is, due to unavoidable circumstances, now there is a shift. There is nothing for her, there is family to fend, there is so much responsibilities, and they're not going to actually be gone anyway overnight. There is those basic needs, and they still need finances. So you go to a professional, you have to get out, get some help.
Okay.
Many will judge you, but anyway, let them judge, because now at the end of the day, the worst that you can do is actually take out your life. And here you get someone who is professional, who is able to nurture your mind, who is able to tell you, hey, wake up, this is not the end, we have to actually move on and take on. Basically, I took a lot of energy from Grace, a lot of lessons from her, and actually where I am even right now, trust me, there was a lot of talking. This one, ako hivi. this one ako hivi. And for instance, right now I'm also I have a construction company. This is a it's a male dominated world.
Yes.
Yeah, Amos was here and he was quite talking about male and male and male. That's a world where I tried now. I said enough is enough. I'll venture where people are not really, my gender are not really there. And trust me, there are so many things that happen in that one. And at the end of the day, you can't even give up because you being a female there, trust me, you have to also now have that stamina. Yes. And dignity has to do not compromise about your dignity, because everywhere you go, there is that eye of, hey, you're in construction. Unafanya nini kwa mijengo? Ni nini huku na mabati? Ni nini na masiling? You know, those kind of, you know. And I'm like, okay, I have to. And no matter what, in all these sectors anyway, because we are still growing and recovering, what you need is actually, you have to do it anyway. Hiyo kitu ya kuanguka na kukufa roho ndio sitaki kwa mtu. Yeah, let us just wake up. Let us just face the day. They talk during the day. We were told, usiku analala. And business continues. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, don't get shamed of asking for help, but go know where to ask for help. Because again, do not go to places whereby you can be vulnerable and you are misunderstood or taken advantage of. Absolutely. Grace helped me.
Yeah. Grace, and you mentioned something, and I love that you bring in the gender conversation, because then my question to Grace would be the influence of that. Like, is there one gender that is, affected more? We've seen the men pick up. How do you lose 28, unapatiana 11, you lose 2 million, you're in campus, and you will get into business again, and it's high risk. Is there something to do with gender where probably the men will be more into the risky kind of business than the women?
I believe that, the gender identity does play a big role in that.
Yes.
But also personality. And personality in terms of the way that, however, what my goals are.
Yes.
And how emotionally I'm driven to get to those goals.
Okay.
So there are a lot of people who will say the end justifies the means. And that, I want to say, that's a survival mode way of living, because the means is as important as the end. Now, melancholic personalities, the people who are over-analyzers, they know that, they struggle a lot with that, because they believe that they have to do both right. And so it becomes an issue. I want to say this. Men are wired to focus more on the end, the bottom line.
Okay.
And so they are fixers of the issue, but women are more wired to be relational. Even when I have the end is the mjengo to be able to provide whatever service is needed, I am still, as a woman, thinking about relationships. Look at it this way. A guy who is completely focused at the end result is not going to ask you, and how is your family? But the woman, even the woman who is fixed on the end result, will still want to say, na mama watoto wako aje? You see, or they remember that you shared a personal. So women, because women, we are nurturers and men are gatherers.
Okay.
So the man is focused more on getting what it is that he's going to gather, and the woman is focused more on getting it, but along the way, develop relationships. So that is probably one of the things that impacts the way we are going to show up in that financial world. But also, number two, there is the identity. So the man is identified as the person who provides and protects. Okay. So financially, as a man, you have been socialized to provide and protect. You see, so protect in terms of, I am making all this money for us.
Yeah.
So I am spending a lot of time making this money to protect and provide, and my family is wondering, what about connection?
Yeah.
So because you are spending, and they say, and the man will tell his wife or the children, but this is all for you. And this is what we are saying with Kali. Then what happens is that by the time a man is getting into his late 40s and 50s, he finds that he has no connection with his young adult children. You see, so he's looking for connection now, but then the children learned that all dad can do is provide and protect.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah.
But when it comes to emotionally connecting and being nurtured by dad emotionally, then the children lost, they kind of gave up on that. They may not necessarily know. So these things are not in our consciousness. They are very emotionally charged. And so they live in our subconscious. And so you will find that now dealing with financial trauma for a man, watajaribu kujikakamua kimwanaume. By the time a man opens up that he is really not doing well, it takes a long time. And then when they go to their friends, now people have become more and more aware of mental health and how to support. But when they go, wacha nikununulia kamoja usahau. You see? So even when the man was looking for emotional support, he doesn't get, he finds other men telling him, fix it. Don't sit in it, fix it. And so the balance between, let me hold your hand, let me hold your a space for you so that you can process the emotional residue of the event, then they may not find that. And so part of what my growth part has been, especially since COVID, is how to support men when they come to therapy with a woman. Because now I have to realize that this guy is not looking for me to mother him or nurture him. He's looking for solutions. And I have to be able to learn how to navigate that space so that he can be able to know himself, understand where he started from, how he got here, and then understand how to get where he wants to go. Otherwise, he will just repeat the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. And I saw Joseph smile at that as a business coach when you said how men, by the time a man opens up just to share what they're dealing with or what loss they've gone through, and you put a broad smile up, Nicole, they're not as courageous as you are. You're on national television telling us how you've lost.
Yeah. When she said that, what came to my mind is, like for me, when everything shut, things were running. People could see me and still see the guy. But inside, like things were at a halt. Yes, you have money to buy a bottle of alcohol, and it's okay. You can fit in with people. The number one thing that hit me was identity. And I think that's where it starts for men. It's not even the business you're doing.
No.
Because in my coaching, that's my approach. You're as good as your business. You're as successful as the identity you carry. And identity is more of integrity. Because it's integrity that gives us that structure, to identify a certain way. But I feel we have been socialized in such a way that, if you're a pastor, you carry your robe everywhere. You go to a funeral, you're a pastor. You go to a restaurant, you're a pastor. So like this identity doesn't give you room to breathe. This identity doesn't give you room to breathe. You're a father, you're a provider. When things are falling, you can't say that, hey, I think we need to move the kids from this school to this other school. Because that already translates to failure. And in my recovery, I figured out that I had to deal with shame, but I had to deal with it at a personal level. I had to, I call it derobe. I had to derobe myself of the titles that I had, because I play squash, I'm a squash captain, I had to put that aside. I'm an engineer, I had to take that hat and put it aside. So I'm a father, I had to take that and put it aside, and what was left? There was nothing, actually. Not even me. So again, I had to take me and put me aside, and look at who am I? Who do I want to be? And in this journey, how do I become what I want to be? And, it took moments of looking at yourself in the mirror and crying, Kwa shower, It's even better to cry kwa shower 'cause
Zatiririka
as a man,
kama-
you still don't want to see your tears, yeah?
Yes.
But you want to appear strong.
Yeah.
Then there's something Grace just said that is important, yeah? Who do you talk to?
Yeah.
That really matters. So who do you talk to? Because I think there's a saying that when you're ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah.
When you've dealt with yourself, the teacher will appear, the opportunities will appear, and everything else will flow. Then, just to add, business, we start defining business with profit. Yet profit should be last. So for me, I believe business is more value, than building structures, than the operation. So value, structures, operations. Then your profits come. Because when there's a structure, you'll structure things so well.
Yes.
Yeah. And there is something that my fellow gentleman here said, which is very important. Yeah. If you undersell yourself, you'll get all the jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll get all the jobs. And I think that was my downfall.
Okay.
Yeah. I was dealing with apartments in Kilimani, Isili, huko Karibu Junction. Oh, you get repairs,
Kazi ulikuwa
Kileleshwa.
nazo.
Kazi ilikuwa, I was very busy.
Yes.
Busy.
Yeah.
But in being busy, things were messing up. So the day I chose to slow down, the day I chose to make everything stop and just focus on what is right.
Yes.
Yeah. And not every business is a good business opportunity. And not everyone you're working with is a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're busy and that's what you're looking for, trust me, everything looks like an opportunity.
That's true.
Yeah. And it looks like you'll cash in on something.
Yeah.
So when I discovered, okay, I need to slow down.
Yeah.
I need to slow down.
Yeah.
And I feel it cuts through all the ages. It doesn't matter whether you're 20, you're 50. I've had a client recently who's 65.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the moment you choose to slow down, the moment you choose to define yourself first, then you can define your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what kind of relationships will fall out. You know? Yeah. They will fall out. And my last point would be authentic. Yeah. Be authentic and be vulnerable. There's a cousin of mine who we ventured, in one of my last businesses.
Yes.
I was like, okay, where do I get money? I can't get it from the bank. I can't get it from here. So I called him and I told him, hey, there's this thing I want us to do pamoja. And because he believed in me, he gave almost 900,000. But up to today, I owe him, I think, around 400,000. And I just went and had the conversation. I was like, hey, ndio huyu mimi. Sina ile pesa, but this is where I'm at. And this is how it looks. And trust me, we are friends still today.
Yeah.
Because of being authentic.
And vulnerable. And vulnerable.
Yes.
And I feel like your story sort of like adds on to everything that we were talking about earlier. Identity, slowing down, chasing every other thing. And the moment that you slow down, then now you see clearly, because Margaret was telling us how sometimes when you spread yourself out too thin, then you do not become a master of something. So being able to just slow down, it's so powerful. It's so powerful to hear you say that. And I know we are due on a break right now. When you come back, we'll find out from Lewis, how did you build back up? How did you build back up? How was that for you before we open up the floor? Because I want this next session to be all about all your questions, because Najum Konazo, and then we get that answers. But the question that we're asking you is, what is your financial trauma story? NTV Kenya on all of our social media platforms. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Your World. And I know we are past midday, but this conversation just had us extend the show for just a bit. So in the last segment of the show, we're talking about financial traumas being broken, and we're finding solutions. We're finding healing and a path to recovery. And it's sometimes it stems back. We've looked at all the habits. If you're hoarding, overspending, if you're underspending, you are undercharging yourself, you're doing 55 other businesses at the same time, all those things. And I know in all the conversations we've had today, you've had some time to just reflect and look at your life and how you're handling money, finances, and even the businesses that you're running. And I hope that At the end of this conversation, you'll have probably found a way to map out ninaenda hivi na ukitoa hizo titles zote, who really are you and what's your relationship with your money. And just before the break, I wanted to find out, because the gentlemen here have shared, they've been very, very vulnerable today, and I really have to commend them for that. But Muremi, you said that you went through some sort of depression, that you even had to go see the dean of students to just help you navigate the loss when you did that kind of business. But how have you been able to, restructure, to recover, to build again, and not just build money, but also build trust and be able to risk again and get into business?
Well, thank you, Mikali. So basically, when I lost money, that was some time back when I was in campus. But
Yes.
now, when it comes to business, and this goes to the business people who are out there, because I know many people in construction, contractors, and so many other people. We have it becomes very hard for you to really tell, really segregate or tell the profitability of the business you're doing. And I'll start first by defining the financial trauma from my own understanding, because I look at it from like a psychological issue, which is mainly due to the repeated money pressures, how they are changing the way you think, how you perceive things. And you see, there are so many things which trickle down when someone gets himself into such a situation, more so if you're a business person, because you realize that when things go south, it becomes very hard. You end up having delayed decision making. You end up hiding. When a phone call comes, you fear, taking a phone call, because that could be a supplier calling you.
Yes.
That could be a landlord. That
Yeah.
could be your lenders who are calling you. And you see, now when you look into the whole scenario, you realize that, as Odido mentioned, sometimes when you're in business and you have not really identified, or you don't have a clear identity and clarity of what you need to do or what you're doing, you end up picking any deal, and which could be a bad deal, which could not be a profitable deal which you're engaging in. So for me, what I did when I realized that our people, they feel like our company is really growing out there, but inside we are bleeding. We realized that because we could get so many corporate jobs, as you mentioned, but we sat down one time and said, look, how comes you have become technical, we call them technical cashiers. Money comes, goes. Money comes, goes. Then you're left, when you check in the account, there's nothing. And you see, sometimes, despite having these unnegotiated contracts on the table, you also have extended pay terms. Mostly if you're working with government, you realize that the terms, they're really extended. Payment terms are really extended. In terms of, for you as a business, on a monthly basis, you have to pay salaries, you have to pay taxes, you have to pay everything. You have to push the, the operation part of it. And then at the end of the day, you realize that there's a lot of changes. Prices are skyrocketing, and sometimes when you are signing that contract, you have firmed the prices, so you are not able to go back and do the variation and tell these guys who gave you an LPO that the price has changed. So what happens? Your profit keeps on shrinking. So for us, we ended up coming up with a system. Of course, now which I'm talking of an intelligent ERP system, which I realized that without system for a business, it becomes very hard to manage. And most of the SMEs, they are running business on their head, which is not a good thing. They run it on WhatsApp chats. If you delete that chat,
Ay, tumekosana.
if you put that default timer,
Yes.
some notebooks, so many isolated notebooks, some Excel and all that.
Yeah.
But you realize, wait a minute, we are running so many small contracts here and there. And then you're not able to tell where you are bleeding, where you are losing your money, where you're losing your profitability. So when you came up with a system which helps us to give us the real time profitability per project. When you're doing a proposal or a quotation, we do it based on project. We're able to come up with list of all the items. These are the items we have, and this is the costing which you go into it. And you give some allowance, because at the end of the day, if things change, you need to ensure that you can manage the quote you gave. If some prices shot up, you can still manage. Otherwise, you'll be suffering quietly. And that's why now you're talking of the same part, the crisis comes in, and so many contractors have found themselves there. Even some of them jumping on the floor of the houses they are building. So with visibility, so what I'm talking about, because the other business I do, I purely do the systems, ERP system, which now came out of the financial trauma. I can see the trauma I got made me leap, now come up with a system which will help me manage the business. And I realized so many people are going through the same problem.
You created a solution for many other people.
Yes, because many people, they tell me, Lewis, can you get that system of yours? Because the main thing is visibility. I'll tell you, for business people, you need visibility. You need to know when you are proving that LPO, is it aligned to the budget of the work you are doing? You know, when you're paying that casual laborer, are the man hours telling? When you're coming up with the man hours, are they telling? Are they doing the work, or you have some ghost workers there? You know, and also now with that kind of system for businesses, you also need to understand in this age, and I'm happy you have some Gen Z in the room, you have the artificial intelligence, whereby people, and it's very affordable, something made in Kenya for Kenyans, and you see, this AI thing is not for Silicon Valley people. Nowadays, we're using it to do each and even small things, actually, even small things, you know. You need to see how you can get intelligence systems which are able to tell you, hey, you had budgeted for this money, and now you're here. Yes. If you exit there, you'll be working for that bank to pay that loan. That's you know, true. If you took a loan, you know. And also it helps even for people when you're taking a loan. You look at, if you take a loan, there's cost for money. Even if you are being lent, your cousin under some expectation. I tell you, you had some expectation. You look at this cost of money. If I put this money here, will still my profit hold? If you're taking a loan from the bank, will my profit hold? Is it making sense? And with that visibility, it becomes very easy for each and every person to know where we are and where we are going.
So we need proper systems for that. And that's very important, because like you said, we're doing businesses from the top of our heads. Na hizo WhatsApp chats. Na to notebook twingi. Twingi sana, meticulously written. But I want to open up the floor to our Gen Zs to ask their questions. I don't know, we have a mic here. You can start with your name.
Okay, my name is Sharon. I'm a nursing graduate. So I have a question on who are we supposed to talk to. Most of the speakers have spoken and they've said you should be careful on who you listen to, especially when you're having a financial crisis. I made one wrong move towards the end of last year, and I'm still recovering from the financial trauma. And I had just started being online. It was doing well, around 100K views in a month, and someone just comments, so you moved out to a different place, and it just crushes you down, because you're following my life. Okay, I have put it out there, but who am I supposed to talk to? Because I ended up deactivating my accounts, and I'm just coming back. So who exactly am I supposed to talk to? Yeah.
Okay. Let's have the next question. I don't know who will answer that. Maybe Grace.
There are so many, my question goes to the panel, sorry. There are so many permanent damages in the psychological, financial drainage. So what should be done to prone this? Because so many people undergo uncertainty in financially, so they end up like wakipata pesa wanakuwa mean, wana spend sparingly tudogo ni wao wenye hata watumi fair, so like so what should be done?
So atiswali ni
what should be done, like to talk to these people out there waweze ku like kujiembrace ni another phase of life.
Okay. I think umesema utajibu hiyo. All right. Faraj.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I want to first of all to appreciate Madam Margaret. Your story on ice was touching.
Yeah.
So you have told us about the ice, and now I have heard that you have a construction company. So congratulations. Then my question goes to you. Unapata, I also had a business. So nikatoka job, then I came up with a business idea, nikasema I have to supply avocados in Nairobi. So nilikuwa naenda mashambani. Then my business ilikuwa tu at the peak. So nikasema wacha nilipe hiyo rent zote mbili ya nyumba na huku, nikaspend other expenses. Then I went back to the farmers nikanunua avocado. Then I came back to the town, nikauziwa avocado mbaya, zikakataa kuiva. So ukapata, nikakuwa traumatized. Nikapata sasa sina capital, sina nini. So in such situation, how do you handle? Then my last question goes to Madam Grace. You get that there are some people doing job, they are employed. Then unapata they have side hustles. Unapata side hustle is working very well than the employment. You can get that you are being paid around 30,000, but side hustle inakupea kitu kama 40 or 50. Then you decide to switch off to concentrate on the side hustle. Then unapata the cartels wako hapa town. Then unapata cartels wanakubroke, ama unapata shops zinakuwa vandalized. Then unapata unakuwa traumatized. How do you handle such issues? Because ukienda loan ama nini huwa upewi, wanakuitisha payslip ama business finances.
Okay, we'll have those questions just answered, and then we'll take another round of questions if we have a bit of time. But let's have the panel answer the questions that were asked. Grace uko na mbili.
So the one question that was about
who do we talk to?
Or who do we talk to? You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. So so when you go through something like you shared, obviously the first thing you experience is grief. So there is a lot of panic. Immediately maji inajaa kwa tumbo, and you feel all these sensations and you panic. And so that's why we normally will run away from the situation, which is a self-preservation action.
Yeah.
So I immediately pull down that, or I run away, I leave the space, because now, regardless of how it is, whether it is working or not, that, and I don't know whether it was just one comment, but the negative, usually as human beings, the emotions that a negative comment triggers in us is so overwhelming that the other 100 people who are clapping for me, it doesn't matter anymore. And there was a phrase that the gentleman who left used, that people who matter
don't care. And those who care,
something like
that.
Yes. So I usually put it like this, that there are 99 people who are clapping for us, but then the one person who comes in and shames us, humiliates us, questions us, immediately we are triggered and we do now what we call trauma response. So now the trauma response, that one, you would have to talk to a counselor. Because then they can help you manage that. So sit with it before you act, because it is not necessarily a bad thing to pull down your. It's a reaction.
Yes.
So that it's a strategy to save yourself.
Okay.
So you go back to self-preservation, and then when we do that, if we stay there, then it is not possible for us to learn and grow, because then we will never go back. Because every time, what is trauma? Trauma is the feelings and the thoughts and the sensations you have every time you think about the event, and especially if you have to go back to it.
Yes.
And so what you want to do in that case, talk to a therapist who can help you do that. But also, the therapist will help you to know who triggered the reaction in terms of your past.
Yes.
You see,
Where is it
because
coming from?
what has happened, your memory has been triggered and you have felt a certain emotion that is very familiar.
Yes.
And therefore what you have done is, ndio sababu tunasemanga mimi mtu akinikosea namblock namsahau. You see, that's a trauma response, but
Yes.
it's not a bad or wrong response. It is a strategy because you are human.
Yes.
Now, to grow from
Yes.
that,
Yes.
what we are calling resilience,
Yes.
that's when you do the talking to a therapist, do your spiritual counseling, so that now you can regain,
Yes.
you can regain a space of control. Because what that did, it took away control over on you, and you felt like you couldn't handle it. Number two, I think there was another question.
Baraji.
Remind me, just say a word and then I will remember. Oh, is that what? I thought there was another question about.
The question was on to balance between.
Use your microphone.
The question was to balance when you are employed, after being employed, then you switch off to the business.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to answer her question also because it's connected to that, and then I will give my comment on that. I want the gentleman to do that. Now, very quickly, I will say this: what you explained, and you said this permanent, like a stamp, which is what we are calling trauma. Now you have been changed by the trauma. She's asking, how do we get over that?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
So this is what we are saying. Your experience in the past has a lot of gems. And when I say gems, it's valuable if you take the time to go through the process of understanding what happened.
Yeah.
So you just, I like a book that Oprah and another psychiatrists have written, and it's called What Happened to You?
Yeah.
And they are trying to answer the question of trauma.
Yeah.
And so that is what we would have to do, is what happened. And you allow somebody to walk with you, because then the trauma is going to become your identity. So it is going to become the backdrop of every decision you make. And now you cannot move away from fear, because you think you do not have the ability. You see, it's a thought process and an emotional reaction, which is what you are calling the nervous system. So your nervous system is doing the automatic thinking. So we want to go through, please invest in personal work, especially when you are, but you don't have to go during the crisis.
Yes.
Because most of us overcome the crisis because of time. And also once the adrenaline is down, 2-3 weeks down, we start again. But before you start, as you are starting again, go to a therapist when you are not in crisis.
Okay.
So that now they can help you explore and process and gain clarity on how to do the next time.
All right. I see we have about 4 minutes, 4 minutes to the end of the show. Now 3 minutes. Yes, there was a question that was asked as well.
Yeah, so probably just quickly, I'd say 80% of businesses taste like chicken. Yeah, like just get that. 80% of businesses run the same way, the 80-20 rule.
Yes.
So don't be scared about anything. And there's also a quote from the Bible that there's nothing new under the sun. So whatever you're going through, you're not the first one.
Yes.
Yeah. Then who do you go to? Start with yourself. Start with yourself. Understand your situation. Then, before you go to someone, are you feeling safe? You have to feel safe first. And because you're putting yourself at a vulnerable place. And it doesn't mean that you'll get whatever you want to get.
Yeah.
You might get something different. So again, go with an open heart, open mind, open soul. Everything open. Yeah?
Okay.
Then on our question, how do we deal with the traumas now to me fair? We really can't help them much, but I feel it's what Grace has said. We have to start learning these things from an early age. You know, there is not so much education on entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
There's a big gap, you know. So we are dealing with a ghost. Most times we are dealing with a ghost.
Yeah.
So number one is we need to have the necessary knowledge. Then we need to deal with ourselves, you know, deal with ourselves. If you are not abundant, you will not be abundant to other people. Yeah, so I feel those are just projections that people have, you know.
Yes.
But deep down, if you practice gratitude, you will do things in such a way that will attract the same to you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So kama pia wewe unaweza patiana fair, so pia wewe utapewa
utapatiwa
fair.
fair.
So just look at it like
Unapatiana
that.
fair. And there was a question to you as well, Margaret.
Well, just to touch up on that gentleman who asked about from ice now to construction
Yes.
site. Basically, there was a lot of work when I realized that when you put passion into something, it will grow. And again, checking on what was happening around that time, it was during COVID, and children were at home, and those were my clients. Now, schools opened, and I really had that mind shift. Now, my clients are gone. Adults will not make me survive on this business. So I was checking on area stuff. So I went to a construction company where I gained knowledge. Because in everything that you do, remember you have to have some basics and actually grow in that. So after 2 years in working and as an employee, I decided now at least I have the skills. I've equipped myself with quite a lot, and actually that's when I was slowly now coming to get to my own company, and it has been there since last year, and much so I cannot complain. But as you leave your employment to go to the business, just know there are risks that actually come with it. It's not a walk in the park, but again, do not give up. Even the biggest of businesses, they grew up because of resilience and working hard. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Our time is up. Our 2.5 hours, just like that. So thank you so much, Margaret, for sharing, for being vulnerable, and for giving us nuggets of wisdom. Joseph, I know probably we could have been here for longer, right? But asante sana, Lewis as well, asante. Chris, asante sana. Always lovely to have you on the show. And just looking at some of the feedback on Facebook as we say kwaheri. Faith on Facebook says, I withdrew my savings from a SACCO to start up a business late 2020. 3 weeks didn't even elapse before the county government of Kisumu evicted us from our sites and displaced us. I was so devastated and depressed. Getting another site was a nightmare. My savings, zikaisha. But I don't know, Faith, have you healed? Where are you at now? That was 2020. Please, thank you so much for sharing with us today. And if you've been tuned in and you're thinking that is my story, then you're not alone. You are not alone. This has been an amazing, amazing show. I hope you have learned so much and you do better. 2026 is ours for the taking, right? Thank you so much for joining us. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Adios.